Hello, chefs. This is Chef's PSA. I'm your host, André Natera. Today we have Chef Casey Wall from the Calamar in Austin, Texas, who's made waves in Melbourne's culinary scene and earned recognition from the Good Food Guide and the world's 50 best bars. We talk about opening a restaurant in a new city, Australia's wild food culture, and the importance of balance and self-care in the kitchen. I think you'll enjoy this one. Stay tuned. Great restaurants don't always bring customers in. Great stories do. Because in food, beverage, and hospitality, what you sell is only part of the story. It's the why behind it, the authority you create, and the experience that you build. Market Scale turns expertise into content that connects. Podcasts, video series, and industry education. Not ads, assets. Market Scale has brought Run the Pass and How to Manage Like an Executive Chef to life. Real-world examples of how great content leads the conversation. Because attention is earned, and the industry doesn't need more noise, it needs more leaders.
The first real prep day we had in the kitchen, we set the oven up. I totally forgot it was in Fahrenheit, not Celsius, and we just could not figure out what was going wrong with these stuffed chicken wings that we have on the menu, a little ode to Pierre Kaufman, and we couldn't figure it out. And we spent hours boning these chicken wings out, making the mousseline and all the farce and all this stuff, and they were just dying in the oven. And my buddy was up helping me prep, and he was just staring into the oven. I could just see the soul leave his body. And then we both realized that we had the wrong temperatures going on back and forth, but yeah.
Did no one else on the team catch it?
It was just us prepping, and we haven't, I mean, there was so many things like.
And he's also from Australia.
He's from Australia, and we've had a few specials where we had a 20-ounce ribeye, and he thought I said 420 grams, which is about 14 ounces. So
Yeah.
we were like doing purple specials because multiple times we just misweighed things, or we say something in grams and someone does it in ounces, and it's just like completely wrong. We try to work off percentages and based on grams. Like I'm kind of meticulous about that. I feel like savory food can be as specific as baking. There is some nuances there. Yeah, we've made so many mistakes with this stupidity stuff, but luckily all the scales that we have, we can put them into ounces.
Yeah, you can put them into grams. And what about the rest of the team there? So like now you're in Austin, you're not in Australia anymore. So what are these cooks that are working with you working off of?
Well, we forced them into grams. It's not too bad because like I said, the scales are in other things, but you can go between ounces and grams, so it's pretty easy to get that stuff. But
yeah.
Oh man, like the verbiage is what is throwing everyone off. Like we just different way to call away dockets or
say that again.
Yeah.
What did you say?
Yeah, that's it. I mean, it's like multiple times people just staring at it. It's like I'm speaking English and I think I'm saying the right stuff, and like fire a ticket, we call away a docket. That's what we would say in Australia. I didn't realize how much of like, I guess, Australian kitchen English has like infiltrated me. It's like I just saying different things and people just stare at me like I'm.
When did you go from because you were in New York, right? And then you went from New York to Australia?
Yeah, I went from New York straight to Melbourne. And
how old were you when that happened? Like how early in your career?
26, 27.
Okay,
27,
and you were there
maybe.
for how long?
15 years. I'll be 42 in
So
August.
so maybe how long before you went into kitchens like in the U.S.?
I started cooking when I was probably 20.
Okay, so about 6 years U.S.
Yeah, and then
kitchen English,
Yep.
and then you go to Australia, and it's like
a whole nother world.
15 years of that.
Yeah, and as you get there and you land and you're like, I know how to cook, and then I know how to like butcher things or whatever, and then you get there, and then the Australian like meat cuts are different. It's
What do
different
you mean?
names. There's like different cuts that don't exist here, that don't exist there. They butcher the cows. They do little things, like little nuances and stuff. Like, yeah, you want to order a brisket, it's almost always just like the point end, never like the what's the navel and the fat end.
Yeah.
There's just little things like that. Yeah, so you just start realizing that English is so crazily different across the world. And then I'm there a lot, coriander versus cilantro. That's a little, that's just a little.
What do you call bell peppers over there?
Capsicums.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, no, that's one.
How dare you?
Yeah, I know. I'm still doing that now. I'm trying to weed out the Australianisms in the kitchen, but I've never wanted to be like mate, or I never was that like really dove into the like Australian lingo like that stuff. But like, some of these words, like the other day we were talking to someone and we call gasoline petrol.
Yeah.
I was like, we gotta go to the petrol store, and they're like, what are you talking about? I was like, for the car. They're like, I don't know what you're talking about. And I was
gotta
like,
go to the car park. And...
yeah, I'm not. I do mumble, but I'm not mumbling. It's just like little things like that. It's been kind of wild to come back to America, and because my partner's American, and we come back all the time, but you don't realize how different the two are for being so similar, and it's just pretty interesting that way.
Kitchen culture between here and Melbourne, how different is it?
It's
besides the language.
Yeah, it's a lot different. The kitchens are a lot tighter in Australia.
What do you mean by that?
Labor is through the roof expensive. If we in the businesses, if we were hitting 42% labor costs across like front and back of house, we were like fist pumping in the air. A lot of times it was like 50% labor cost.
Really?
Yeah, and
so you got to run really lean margins everywhere else.
Yeah, you have to be smart, like prep, utilizing everything, like cooking clean. The kitchens are, so many kitchens in Australia don't have dishwashers. It's like, do you want 4 chefs in a dishwasher, or do you want 5 chefs to get prep done and the chefs just wash the dishes?
Really?
Yeah.
And I'm assuming like no one bats an eye. It's just the way it is.
No one cares. They know how it is. Like, some people
here it's like,
yeah, no, it's
that's not my job.
I thought, erroneously thought I could open the Le Calamar with 5 chefs.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're at 8 now.
Yeah.
It's crazy. It's a different world. And in Australia too, like it's real tight with hours. It's 38-hour working weeks, 40-hour working weeks, and like it's pretty strict.
Wow. Why is labor so high? Like, what's the average cook making over there? What's the currency exchange, by the way? Do you know off the top of your head?
It's about 65, 66 cents. So, yeah, one US dollar is like 65 or 66 cents right now.
Okay.
Back in the heyday, it was like 105 Australian to 1 when the US dollar dropped at the GFC.
Yeah.
Man, it was crazy. It was so good to come back home. It was like, it felt like you were like, I don't know, it felt like you're a millionaire coming back. But you'd be around 60, 65 Australian for like just a line cook.
$65 an hour?
No.
Salary.
Yeah.
Just for a line cook.
Yeah.
What is like a average sous chef making over there?
It depends on how big the restaurant is.
Yeah.
Like, 75 to 85.
That's not bad.
And then chefs 85 up, depending on. Now there's a little wiggle room in the fair work. It's everything's like scripted out, like what will you pay. So if you pay someone over an X amount of dollars, and they can work however many hours you want. Okay. But it's like at a sort, I can't remember the threshold, 120, 150 or something like that. You can just like you're working.
If you make more than 150 a year, you can work as.
Yeah, you can like it's
there's no labor law anymore.
Labor
law is out the window.
I wouldn't say it's out of the window, but it's like kind of opens up the door a little bit more. It's an interesting way. It's good to know, because as a cook, there's no real negotiation of salary. I mean, you can maybe ask for a little bit more, but it's like in this government like document, this is what you pay if you do this.
Wow.
And if you do these tasks, then you get paid this much. And it's kind of like graded up that way. So if you're doing ordering and stuff, you're at like a level, I think level 4.
Uh-huh.
My business partner, Manu, was way better at that. So I was like just focusing on the food and he was doing all the admin. I think level 4 is like when you start ordering, 1 through 5 is like level cook you were. And it's kind of.
And everyone works off the same system?
Yeah. I mean, if you.
So like if you go into a restaurant, you're like, I'm a cook 1, level 1 or level 2.
Yeah, you would just say you're hiring for like a level 1 cook. And that's kind of like, this is, you can see what.
Everyone's kind of knows what a level 1 cook is.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
So it's real. It's good and it's also bad because there's a little annoying things like, we're a global. Australia's a global, country. It's a global world now, and everything's set to a Monday to Friday 9 to 5, like wage. And if you work in the night or if you work on the weekends, there's like you have to pay extra, so you have to load like whatever the base salary is.
Wait a minute. So if I'm a cook in Australia, and you happen to be closed on Monday and Tuesday, you have to pay me more when I work on Saturday and Sunday?
Yeah.
Just those 2 days?
And at night.
And at night?
And if you start early. So we had a bakery and...
Is that all of Australia?
Yeah, it's everything.
Oh, shit.
So it's like... a
lot of people listening will be like, I'm fucking moving to Australia.
Yeah, I mean, I think it'd be... you definitely learn how to cook and how to use ingredients differently in Australia. There's some amazing chefs. And if you're a young cook, I think 28 might be the cutoff, or maybe 30 now. There's like a work and holiday visa where you pay, I think maybe 100, 200 Australian dollars. Don't hold me to that. And you can get a work visa for a year. So you can go down to Australia for a year, cook down there. I think more people should do it just to see the work. It's an easy way because it gives you the ability to work. It's not just a travel visa. It's called a work and holiday, so you can kind of pay for your holiday as you're working. And
so if like me, I pay my $200 ish, and I go and I get my working holiday visa in Australia. Are you going to pay me the same as everyone else there, or do you like working holiday visa? We can pay them less.
No,
you have to pay me what everyone else is making.
Yeah. So
65.
Yeah, I mean 65 Australian, so it's a little less than it's good though. I mean it's real, and then
that's entry level.
Yeah, that's not that would be your average.
Okay.
And then you got 4 weeks paid vacation mandatory, and then about 11.
And every employer has to do this.
Yeah, and you get 11 or 12 public holidays off a year as well on top of your 4 weeks paid annual leave. And you have to pay superannuation. So 10%,
what is that?
Your retirement. So 10% on top of what your salary is, the restaurant has to pay towards your retirement.
Whoa.
So
what about those people that are not?
Now that I say this, I'm sitting here and saying it. I don't know how we ever had successful restaurants.
Yeah, how did you? You're running crazy labor costs.
Yeah, I mean it is what it is. It's good because I mean you're taking care of your employees and stuff, and like
no. Hey, look, I get that, but you got to stay open.
Yeah, it's hard. It definitely is hard, and Australia's struggling right now. They're going through a pretty gnarly recession. A lot of restaurants are closing. A lot of my friends closing spots down and stuff, but it's not because they're not trying or anything. Like they're great restaurants. It's just hard, and no one's spending money right now because the interest rates are through the roof on like mortgages.
Yeah,
in Australia.
When you think about like Australian cuisine, and I know you're from the United States, but having lived in Australia for so long, when you think about like if someone's coming down, they're like, define Australian cuisine. What does that look like to most people? If you said, I'm going to take you to the best Australian restaurants.
It's kind of like modern American in a way, like what's a modern American?
Like an Australian burger?
Yeah, that does. Oh, don't
what does that have? Beets and pineapple on it?
Yeah, it did.
Yes.
That's and egg and bacon. It's
that's right.
I'm sorry, Australia. It's horrible. It's disgusting. I there's great burgers in Australia, but that's not one. That whole thing. I don't. Yeah, I think you have to like be tricked to think that's good when you're a child.
Yeah.
And then like you grow up like this is a good burger, and you're like, you know,
The sausage rolls. What are we eating over there?
yeah, sausage rolls are great.
Yeah, I like
it's
sausage
it's like depending on where you buy them from, it's the cheaper they are, the more bread. It's like less sausage and more just bread filling inside of like puff pastry. But um, the 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 weird thing for me about Australia is there's no like if you go to a pub in Perth and you go to a pub in Sydney, you go to a pub in Melbourne, it's kind of the same. There's no like regional food in Australia. There's like the only regionality really is an argument between like a potato cake and a potato scallop, which is just a fried slice of potato. That's the only real like regional thing. And they have like a continental sandwich, and
What's a continental sandwich?
it's just like I'm sorry, Perth. It's like a bad version of an Italian sub. I mean, someone out there is going to get mad about that.
All my Australian fans listening right now, writing your name on their list.
No, I love Australia, but the food, like I don't know. Since there isn't like a long culinary history in Australia. I mean, a lot of it is British influenced, like roast and things. But since there's not like an old Australian culinary identity, you have this freedom to cook whatever you want. It's not, back, a few years ago, like, fusion, a few decades ago, like fusion was like a bad word in America. And there's a lot of people doing bad fusion food, you know what I mean? It's just horrible, like, attempts at like putting Asian flavors into American dishes, and it's like or whatever it is, not fully understanding like the nuances of Asian cuisine and trying to implement them into like some sort of Americanized dish. And you're like, there was a lot of bad food, but in Australia, it's kind of like, with the produce and the proximity to Southeast Asia, it's like Asian ingredients just seamlessly integrate into like Western food, if you will. Like, so there's no real.
There's a lot of really great Southeast Asian food in Australia as well.
Oh man, amazing! The Vietnamese, a lot of Vietnamese refugees in the war, so like, there's so much great Vietnamese food. That was my go-to. I lost Mexican food when I moved to Australia, and I replaced it with Vietnamese food. It was amazing. What I didn't realize, so I consulted on a restaurant in Vietnam, and with some friends of mine from Melbourne. So we consulted on this restaurant in Vietnam, and we were eating pho and eating different stuff. And the pho, I was like, tastes so different here. And he was like, yeah, there's also regional phos everywhere, but we said the pho tastes different. And not bad or not, it's just different. He goes, yeah. And so we went to this another district, it's kind of like a neighborhood in Saigon. And he took me to the Chinatown, and he was like, we ate pho. And I was like, oh, this is what I remember, this tastes like Australia, like the Vietnamese food in Australia. He was like, yeah, because when the Vietnamese moved to Australia, there was no Vietnamese produce. They had to start using like Chinese ingredients to try to mimic their Vietnamese flavors. So it tastes like the Chinatown version of pho because they're using Chinese-based ingredients in Australia. So it's like this neat, like you go to this one district in Saigon, you're like, oh, this is a pho I know and what I thought pho was. And then you go to the other place. It's so, Vietnam's crazy. But the food, the Vietnamese food in Australia is elite.
Going back to, just because I'm fascinated by this conversation, going back to livable wages for cooks in Australia, are most cooks making livable wages where they could live comfortably? I mean, you know what I mean, live comfortably. Like their bills are paid. They're not having to work two jobs.
No, I don't know anyone that really worked two jobs unless they kind of had like two part-time jobs. Yeah. And that's another thing. A lot of people were doing like part-time work. We got a lot of part-time chefs. And then sometimes they would just be happy working 2 days a week or 3 days a week.
Wow.
Because there's also like, you have your salary positions, but then you have like a casual chef and they're getting paid.
Right.
It's like maybe $80 an hour on a Sunday or something.
In the United States, one of the big problems that we have obviously is inflation. And because of cost of living and inflation and, the purchasing power of the dollar, a lot of cooks have to work two jobs, or a lot of times they leave the industry because they can't make a livable wage. But this is, the industry has never been like known to pay, like people aren't getting rich by working as cooks and chefs, but it's gotten perpetually worse over the last couple of years.
Oh, I mean, I didn't know it was getting worse. I've always thought that, the more you take care of your staff and the less turnover you have, the better your life's going to be. So like I would rather have a little less and give people a little more
Yeah.
and then have them stay longer than
So you're saying that instead of going back to the 5 cook example, go with 4 and just pay the 4 a little bit more than.
yeah, however you can do it, or just, like you just take less off the top, you know what I mean? Like that,
Yeah.
like you just distribute that over. We had some great chefs and managers and stuff that worked with us for years in Australia, and we would always try to take people with us when we did pop-ups in Vietnam or Singapore or China, and we sent one of a really talented chef to America because he just wanted to see other things. So we sent him to America for a few weeks. He staged at some of our friends' restaurants.
Yeah.
Another one of our chefs, Zach, he just left Liberty a few weeks. Bar Liberty is one of my old spots in Melbourne. He just left Liberty a few weeks ago, and it was a hard slog through like COVID in Melbourne. It was crazy, and he worked his ass for us. So he worked so hard for us. So we sent him to Poland because he has like Polish descent. So he went to Poland and checked things out. And,
Yeah.
I mean, it was like it's fun to like those little extra things to do with people. Like we sent. I mean, I was annoyed only from jealousy because we did a pop up in Japan. I didn't even get to go. We sent
Is your restaurant?
yeah we sent Zach and one of our AGMs to Japan to do this pop up, and I was like, man, this looks so much fun. Like
Your bar in Australia was on World's 50 Best Bars.
yeah. So it's been in the top 50, and it was I think 100 last year. It goes kind of
Yeah.
on and off up. It's the World's 50 Best Bar is such a cool list. I think it's. I mean, not to hang shade on the restaurant list, but the restaurants are almost priced out. They're almost unattainable for a common person, right? And I mean, they're great restaurants. Like no shade on them at all. I have no issue with the list, but the actual cocktail bars in that list, you can be a line cook and go to a top 50 bar and afford to have a drink. You know what I mean? Like, and experience like this really insane level of craft where you're not going to drop 600 euros on a meal.
Not everyone gets to go to Noma, right?
Yeah, it's like it's really neat how in a weird way how utilitarian the world's 50 best cocktail list is versus the rest, or the bar versus the
That's
restaurant.
an interesting point.
I mean, by nature I guess what you're consuming is a much smaller, in context, it's a drink.
Yeah.
But,
So I think a lot of people that are going to listen to this episode are going to be very curious about, especially in the U.S., are going to be very curious about taking these working trips to go to Australia.
I anyone wants to DM me on Instagram, I can hook you up with heaps of great chefs to work for.
Yeah. I mean, that would probably be step one, like figure out who you want to go work for, right?
There's so many, there's so many talented chefs in Australia. I mean, in America too. I'm not saying like Australia's better than America in any way, but there's just to go get a different viewpoint, to see, what a gram
So you
is.
learn about. Well, people here use grams. I mean, I use grams and kilos. And I want to go back to the recipe conversation because you said something interesting, and it's something that I always write my recipes in grams.
Mm-hmm.
I don't do cups and spoons and ounces. I think, again, to your point, it's more consistent. But you said something about percentages.
Yeah.
And this is something that I've been thinking about a lot lately, to write recipes with percentages. And I picked this up recently from another chef, where everything is so they could scale it by percent. And I've never thought about that. It was just like a light bulb moment. But can you explain that to people, what you mean by writing your recipes in percentages? Because I think more people should do it. Once I discovered it, I was like, yeah, everyone should do this.
Well, it's called a baker's percentage. Is the basis, and it's kind of, you're using whatever your main ingredient is 100% of say a kilo of flour, and then then it would be, so that's your 100% ratio, and then say you want 500 grams, it would be 50% water, so 500 grams of water, and then 2% salt, And, and that's and it just goes up. We write a lot of spreadsheets too. So just build every recipe into a calculator.
Right.
And say like, this recipe calls for whatever, 400 grams of clean bell peppers or whatever, and you have 377 grams. And you can just type 377 in that thing, and it scales the recipe accordingly instead of like trying to like.
Yeah. What are you using, like an Excel spreadsheet or something?
Yeah, just Google Documents and stuff. So
yeah,
it's a neat way, because something, we all do it. Like this recipe is 600 grams, and you only have 550 grams. Like, yeah, you can keep going on, but and depending on what you're using, there may not be much of a variation in the end result. But I think what I try to do is try to eliminate as much variation at the end goal as possible, so service is as smooth as possible.
Yeah.
You don't want to have to be micro adjusting things on every, 5 things on every pickup because, we didn't take an extra 5 minutes when we were prepping this item. Yeah. So the percentages really helps dial that stuff in.
Where did you pick that up? Was that very common in Australia, or is that something that you learned somewhere?
No, I just think I'm a weirdo.
Well, you're not, because I know some very good chefs that do that, and it was a very good chef friend of mine that showed that to me. Very highly respectable chef, and when he showed me, I was like, yeah, it's brilliant. I don't know why I never did. I was always just writing them in grams and then manually scaling it up myself.
Yeah, we have like a little golden ratio of seasoning. We try to hit on a lot of things. If you're not, you have to, as you're making something, you're seasoning in layers. But some stuff, reductions or whatever, you're seasoning at the end. And we always go for a dialed in like golden ratio of salt and other seasoning stuff. And
what do you mean?
Like we aim for like, well, it depends on what it is.
Can we say it's like a sauce? Like a meat reduction.
Yeah, if we're making a sauce, we'll go 1.2% salt and then 0.2% MSG to finish that.
Would you say 1.2% salt?
Yeah, by weight.
By weight, yeah.
Of the reduced sauce, and then like it gets.
I've heard some people like 1.5. Yeah.
Yeah, 1.5. It depends. Also, what you're using it for. Like, we make a couple, at the Calamar, it's French inspired, Frenchish, French adjacent. I'm not sure. I wouldn't want to say we're 100% French, but definitely homage to French cookery. Mm-hmm. And we make so many. I mean, a lot of that is sauce based, and it's really, really important. So if it's a base sauce for something else, we'll under season it slightly so we can adjust that. We don't put it in at 100% salt into another reduction, so so we can kind of play with it a little bit. But yeah, it's a lot of gram scales and like 0.2 decimal place gram scales and stuff to dial things in.
Yeah, so 0.2% MSG, 1.2% salt.
It's pretty solid.
That's a great tip for people listening.
Yeah, I mean it's things to work through. You can taste. I mean, if you're a young chef, like just try it out. You see, like where you want to be dialed in. And of course, if you've used some sort of like tamari or some other salt, Worcestershire sauce or something,
Sure.
that ratio is going to have to drop down.
Right.
But like if it's essentially an unseasoned entity, that's a good starting point.
Yeah. Yeah. Have you always been that meticulous? Where'd you pick that up? In a kitchen or on your own?
No, I think just doing experience and like trying to make consistent stuff. I think consistency is the biggest key for a restaurant. You can forgive a lot if a restaurant's consistent. You know what I mean? Like if you go there and you have a great meal and you go back and it was kind of a dud, you're like, it's hard to go back a third time. But if it's consistent, you know what you're getting, you know what you're paying for, you know what to expect. You walk in the door, you're just going to keep coming back. So it's like and I wouldn't say it's safe. Right?
Yeah.
I don't want to be like a safe restaurant, but I think consistency is key. You have to deliver that product repeatedly. Mm-hmm. And if it's something like, I put this a chicken dish on, and I thought it would be on for like a week, and it's our biggest selling dish. It's flying out the door. Our poor chicken guy he's made multiple deliveries. Ty from True Bird Farm. He's a legend. He's helped me out so much. Um, we I didn't think it would be on that long, and now I can't take it off. But it's cool. It's a great dish.
So I was at your place the other day, and I saw the chicken dish, and I was like, I'm gonna order that. It sounded good.
Yeah, it's an awesome dish. And yeah, it's just when you come in, I want it to be the same every time. Like you can't just come like man because that's even we tried a lot of chickens, and the True Bird Farm chicken is insane. And if I can get chickens from him, we just won't put the dish on. I don't want to like you come in this week and have a great chicken dish, and then you come back the next week and it's kind of it's 90% of what it was the week before. Like that's not good enough for me. Like that's why the meticulousness comes in.
It's interesting. I have two friends, and I'm not going to say who they are or what restaurants are the chefs at. Both of them are restaurants that are household names globally, right? The ones that you hear on those lists, right?
Yeah.
One chef, again, he's very important. No recipes. Everyone knows how to cook. Like we just throw it in there. Like we know how to do this. The other, everything's exactly like no deviation from the recipe. It's to the gram, 1.5%, whatever. Yeah. And they're both top of the food chain. And they both have completely different methodologies of how they get there. It's wild.
I've worked with chefs, the first chef there was no real recipes, kind of guidelines. And it's a fun kitchen to work in because there's a lot of pressure on you to repeat that dish or whatever you're prepping. Mm-hmm. But I think the level of talent you have to have in that kitchen is wildly different from the level of talent you need for the other kitchen.
That is true.
And I think there's so many chefs have taken so much of their time to teach me things, when I was a young chef, or even just like friends, making a friend at another chef, we talk about stuff, we exchange ideas and things. So I think as an older chef, you have to train the younger generation. They're not cogs in the machine. It's way more than that. And if you're not taking time to train people, I think you're not really serving your purpose as a chef.
Yeah.
And I love the idea of like teaching young kids how to cook. But also some of that is, we're working to the spec. So you learn how to cook with the spec. You have an obtainable goal to reach, where the other one, it's like, you have to know so much about cooking to be able to make this sauce without a recipe. And if you have a kid you're trying to train along, there's so much variation that could happen.
There's something to be said about like a good, well-written recipe can actually teach you a lot. Mm-hmm. If like you were saying, it's 1.5%, or I'm sorry, 1.2%, and then 0.2% MSG, and then there's probably a method in there, and maybe you're cooking something to a certain temp for an X amount of time. So when the new cook is reading all these very specific steps to a recipe, but then you explain to them, well, why is it 1.2%? Well, and then here's why. Why is it 0.2%? Well, why is it 1.5 hours at this temp? Why do we need to shock it afterwards? Or why don't we shock it?
Yep.
Why do we blend it for 5 minutes? Exactly. And then when you start to understand that, like you might have, it's like this Miyagi, Daniel-san, wax on, wax off forever. But after a while, like, how to work very efficient. And that recipe could then translate into other things. So I do think sometimes a very meticulous recipe, you could learn a lot by just the repetition of making something over and over and over again. And when you have that muscle memory and that taste memory, and you understand the reasons why behind certain methods, then you could scale it to other things.
100%. I think you're giving them little tidbits of information, and we have a lot of amazing chefs worked for us in Australia, and going on to open up new restaurants and things, and you can see like your
system.
You can see the system and a little bit of an influence you've had. I mean, I'm not saying I will never take credit for the talent of some of these guys and girls who've worked for me, but you can see like it's cool to see like, oh, okay, they've taken that idea and made it their own. Like they've expanded on this little thing they've learned from me and put their twist on it. That's probably like one of the coolest things to see as a chef is like the people you took time to invest in making your ideas better in a way. You know, it's pretty neat.
I'm going to ask you one more thing about Australia restaurants. For people that are listening, explain the difference because you had one hat.
Mm-hmm.
For people over here in the United States and a lot of the rest of the world, they don't understand the hat system. Can you explain like kind of what it is and how does it compare to some of these other rating systems and award systems?
That's a great question. It's kind of the hats kind of parallel Michelin stars, so 1, 2, and 3. There's 3 hat. All 3 hat restaurants in Australia I wouldn't say all 3 hat restaurants in Australia would be 3 Michelin stars. Mm-hmm. They almost would all certainly be 2 Michelin stars. So maybe the 3s aren't quite in the same parallel. You know, if you're looking at the global list, I still think the 3 hat is the elite of Australia. They're great restaurants.
What are some of those 3 hat restaurants?
Bray, Minamishima. Those are 2. Like Bray is incredible. It's outside the city. They have their own little garden. You stay in this it's in an old house. It's a beautiful experience. And Minamishima is like a really tight omakase sushi place, and it's just like incredible. Richard, my business partner at the Calamar, he used to work at Key. That's a great
3 hats also.
Yeah.
Peter Gilmore.
Yeah, he's
legend. Yeah,
he's such an awesome chef. I like some of the stuff he's done. But yeah, and then down to 2 hats. 2 hats would be 2 stars to some one Michelin star kind of, and then the one hats would mostly all be like 1 Michelin star. I think if you look at it across the globe, how that trends. There may be a couple hatted restaurants.
And hats is only in Australia, correct?
I think maybe New Zealand as well, but it's Australia and New Zealand, for all intents and purposes, are extremely similar. Like that, it's like American Canada. You know, like a lot of, especially
except for when you meet someone from New Zealand, you say, "Are you from Australia?" and then they get pissed.
You can tell a difference for sure. Oh, I can't.
Well, we can.
Yeah, the accent's crazy. You know, but yeah, that's kind of the way they've done it there, and it's a point system out of 20 points.
Yeah.
So to get 15, if you get 15 points, you get a hat. 15.5 is like also then 16.
So when you're talking about a point system, so you know exactly, like there's a path to get one. Like you got to have all these things.
I don't know if it's necessarily a path, but you can see the review and see like
where points were deducted.
They don't say that. They don't go that in, but they'll just give you a point total at the end of that. It's kind of up to the reviewer.
Yeah, it's like Forbes Travel Guide, which was really what was in the United States before Michelin came to the United States. They're point based, and you could see where you got a point deducted, and they
that's cool.
And they're very upfront with what they're grading, right? So their thing is, and I don't know if they've changed it, but I want to say their thing was like they were grading excellence, or they were validating excellence, or something like that. So they had a whole bunch of points, like an excellent restaurant would have this cheese course. So there's some stuff that might be slightly outdated and doesn't apply to everything. Like they'd be like, an excellent restaurant would have a cheese course. Well, what if you're an excellent Chinese restaurant? Probably wouldn't.
No, that's true.
But that's the way Forbes was. And then with Michelin, it's a little bit more cloudy.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, it's always been a gripe of the Michelin, but it's. I mean, they're there to get clicks and things. They're. I think the mysteriousness of the review process is what engages people. You don't like, why did this place lose a hat? Why did it? Why didn't this get one? Why did this one get one? It gets you talking about it, and I think the mysteriousness kind of like.
And I think people need to remember is like Michelin is still a business.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, it's still a business. It's not a nonprofit.
It's a tire company.
It's a tire company. Like, let's not forget, they got to sell some fucking tires. We have some tires to sell.
My favorite review structure, and forgive me if they don't do this anymore, but is New York magazines. They have the 5-star ratings, but highbrow and lowbrow. So like a lowbrow 5-star is like an elite restaurant.
Yeah,
It's like
yeah.
and you have your highbrow 5-star. So
I don't know if they still do that. I haven't read that in a long time, but yeah,
it's such a good way to do it because like you have this ambition to open up just like a fun diner or something, like
Yeah.
and then you're like kind of getting
is it the best in class of a fun diner?
yeah, it's kind of
Right.
like why are you like why is this type restaurant getting put against like Danielle?
Yeah.
They shouldn't be sharing the same structure. So it's like
Right.
this is the best lowbrow restaurant. And this is a mid-tier highbrow restaurant. And it's kind of fun like
Yeah.
that how they did that.
And it's easy for people to understand.
100%.
Yeah.
And this is what's great about I mean, I've from afar I've watched the evolution of like the American dining scene happen. When I was before I left, like if you wanted to be a chef, like you were kind of told you had to go to New York, San Francisco, or Chicago, and then a much lesser extent maybe LA. But at that time, it was like
Yeah.
go
If
to
you want
New York,
to be,
go
if
to
you want
San
to be the
Fran.
best,
Yeah,
right?
you have to go.
French Laundry, Danielle per se,
Yeah, or Alinea or whatever whatever you want to get into. That was kind of what you had to do.
Trotters.
And then you get like, then the regional chefs started popping up. I remember like finding Sean Brock when he had a blog going. It was I can't remember the name of it now. It was after an island, something island, or so you're seeing like getting not little to no like national media attention because he was in Charleston
Yeah.
and at McCrady's, and you're like, wow, this man, I want to move to South Carolina. It's like
Right.
it was like counterintuitive what you were told you had to do to be a chef.
Right.
And
Right. The path isn't so linear anymore.
now you can go anywhere.
Yeah.
It's like,
There's good chefs everywhere.
yeah, like there's and what there always were, but they were not getting recognition.
Yeah.
Now it's like man, there's so much cool food being cooked here, and the freedom to cook what you want,
Right.
which is what made
The game was different there. Social media completely changed the game. Now you could know who the best chef in Charlotte is.
yeah,
right?
for sure,
Where before is like you might never know.
exactly. And I mean the James Beard was like the only one that was kind of doing that back
Yeah.
in the day, but it still felt like it was, yeah, like oh okay, that's cute, like
Yeah.
someone in whatever Milwaukee. Yeah, it was a weird. It was like this weird elitism, but in the culinary world, and I think a lot of chefs my age who didn't work in those big cities would like understand that. But now I just love dudes and these ladies who they're cooking like, such incredible food, getting this recognition, and you can from afar like just in like consuming American like food media, you can see the evolution and how it's changed, and it's so cool that this like someone doing like a taco pop-up's getting like national attention because like it's shit is good,
Right. What do you? I mean, I could probably. You ever deal with like a wild spider? Like I'm fascinated by all these wild animals in Australia. Like everything wants to kill you. The spiders, the fucking snakes, the sharks, everything deadly is in Australia.
I never had any little interactions with a venomous spider, but we had a huge spider who hung out in our house that was the size of like a dinner plate. Let me think.
What kind of spider is that?
A huntsman. It was probably about 8 inches. He would just be on the wall. He eats mosquitoes. They don't bite humans. They're scary as all shit. They look like a Halloween decoration, but you don't have to deal with mosquitoes. They just
Wow. Okay.
and they're like they do scare the shit out of you.
Yeah.
If you don't know where they're at.
Yeah.
Like they'll hang out.
That's crazy.
The snakes. I used to be a fairly competitive cyclist, and we'd always run into snakes when we were like riding mountain bike trails and things. And you see this horror like images of someone riding a mountain bike over a brown snake and it getting like into the cogs of the
And then it bites you, and then
oh no I wouldn't oh man, the scaredest I've ever been was in Adelaide. I was riding up a mountain in the Adelaide Hills. It's probably like a 20-minute climb. It's fairly steep, and your heart's pounding. You're climbing a mountain on a bike is pretty hard work. And there's the eastern brown snake. It's one of the most venomous snakes in the world. It's probably the most dangerous snake in Australia because they're just around more people. Like the taipans are hidden. They don't really mess. They're way more venomous, but they're not really a risk. So riding up there, and they're this beautiful coppery brown color, but they camouflage so well in the dirt. And I'm going probably, I can't think in miles per hour, but it's probably going like 14 or 15 kilometers an hour up this hill. Not very fast. Heart rate's pounding, and I'm closer to this snake than you are on the side of the road. And I get beside of it, and it gets spooked and jumps up, and oh my God, dude, I thought I was gonna die. This thing like kind of jumped towards me, but not like at me.
Yeah.
And I mean, if it would have bit me, it was over. Like heart's pounding because you're climbing this thing. It would just pump venom all the way through me. That was the scariest. But you know, there's little things like you'll be riding out on trails and there'll be a brown snake across the mountain bike path, and you just got to bunny hop it.
Yeah.
You know, the head's in the bush, but
I want to ask you this. Usually when I wrap up the show, I start asking some basic questions, but one of the hot topics right now is health and wellness in kitchens. If you were going to give advice to people like how to take care of health and wellness as a cook, as a chef, I mean, is there something that you wish you could have said to your younger self?
yeah, like actually take care of yourself. It was only, you know, it was just like wake up and grind. That's all. I mean, you know, we're the same age. You know how it was when we were young chefs. It was like, to be a good chef, you have to do this.
Yeah.
Like, there was one pathway, and it was like work. Just be there before the chef, be there after the chef, and you know, come in early, come in on your day off, do what you have to do.
Mm-hmm.
You never really take care, but it was for the love of the game. You know, it's kind of this, you know, weird mentality to have, and that's all I knew. So I got sick in Australia. A little sinus infection, just kept self-medicating and going to work. And then one day I couldn't stand up. I was at work and I just couldn't stand all the way up. And my back was killing me. I was like, what's... And my buddy was like, dude, you have to go to the hospital. And I was like, we got to get through service. He's like, don't worry about it. I'll finish it. Just go to the hospital. Go to the hospital. And I started having acute organ failure from sepsis. So the infection got into my bloodstream.
Oh, jeez.
And I was out of commission for a while. And I got antibiotics, you know, pretty much instantly came back around. But it was like, the doctor's like, if you would have went, you might not have.
You would have been dead.
Woken up if you like went to sleep. It started to get that crazy.
Wow.
And it's like, all you knew is just to grind. And after that point, it was like, all right, you got to take a step back. And I've always advocated.
Were you a cook then, or were you the chef?
Yes, chef. I was owning my first restaurant.
It's wild. Like a lot of people don't take care of themselves until it's too late, and it's one of those things. Like, and I think it's because some people abuse the system. Like, oh, I got a scratch, I'm going to call off. But other people like are really sick, and then they still show up.
Mm-hmm.
I could tell you that, like, take care of yourself. You know that, like, take care of yourself.
You have to do something. Like, it doesn't matter what you need to have a hobby outside of work. You need something a clean break. Cycling was that for me. It was like I could just, you know, put my phone on mute and go ride for 2 or 3 hours.
Yeah.
And just think about stuff, process like new dish ideas, you know, de-stress.
Yeah.
Like, go to the gym, ride a bike. Go for a walk. Just go walk for an hour, like before work or something. Like, just get out there and move. And I think don't fall into the crux of like, I read stuff online, so, you know, like Reddit and chefs talking about how like hard and like, you know, it's an impossible job because there's nothing but like drug addicts and alcoholics around you. Like, I never saw this. I mean, I know there are bad kitchens to work in, but like, you know,
there's also good kitchens.
Yeah, that's it. Like, you just work in a good kitchen.
Yeah.
Put in the time. Don't use it as a crutch, and just take care of yourself. Like, because no one is going to take care of yourself other than yourself, and you have to put yourself in like a position to be a great chef. And you need to like mentally clear yourself on your days off. You can't like go out, write yourself off. You know, get drunk, have a hangover, waste a whole day off because you're hungover. You know, maybe have more beers and be hungover for your second day off, and then start doing things, and then go back to work. It's like, man, like, go join a run club, go to a gym, do like anything, do yoga. Yoga's great for chefs.
Yeah.
Pilates is like, a lot of my
flexibility is everything, right?
A lot of my buddies back in Australia do Pilates,
mm-hmm.
and it's just like great for them because you know, I love to lift weights and stuff. We go to the gym a bit, and is fun. I mean, not everyone needs to be doing deadlifts all the, whatever.
Something, move your body.
You just have to, and you don't know what you like until you do it. But once you like it, you know you like it, and just keep rock climbing. Like one of the dudes that worked for me, like a great young chef, he's super into rock climbing, and that's just his out. That's his therapy. You know what I mean? Like you can, a lot of self-healing can be done through movement. I feel like
One of the questions I want to ask you, like if you had to distill information, like advice to someone that's listening, that's thinking you've opened a lot of restaurants, like I've opened a lot of restaurants, or I want to open up my first restaurant. What's one thing that you'd say before you think about doing this? Like, here's something you need to know. Like, make sure you check this.
oh man, that's
What's a hard lesson that you've learned to make sure that other people don't make the same mistake?
That's throwing me for a loop. There's so many that like it's just like a scrambled eggs in my brain right now. I think the biggest thing is like, if you have the confidence to do it, don't second guess yourself.
Yeah.
If you believe like you've got to the point where you thought you're good enough to open up a restaurant or had a certain skill set to do it, don't do it and then start second guessing yourself. Like, why am I doing this? Like, is it good enough? Like, just trust the process and trust yourself. It's so, I mean, athletes, musicians, and cooks. I mean, you can expand on that. Like, I don't know anyone else that gets as violently like criticized as those three people. Like, I mean, I don't know who else. It's like any in the creative space. Someone puts out someone's been working on an album for like 3 years and it gets released, like, oh, this sucks. It was like so much shitter than their first album.
Yeah.
And the chefs, you're cooking. Like, don't let the noise get to you. Like you got to really think. Like, do you know anyone that leaves Google reviews that are your friends? Of course you don't. You wouldn't be friends with them. So why are you like putting so much value into like some guy who's mad at his desk job? Like reviewing your restaurant.
Yeah, that's good advice. Last question, chef, that I have is normally I ask people, like, if they had a Mount Rushmore of chefs out there, for you, who's on your Mount Rushmore of chefs? It's 4. In case you,
I know it's 4.
Maybe you've been in Australia too long. It's 4.
Pierre Kaufman.
Yeah.
David Kinch.
By the way, your tribute to Pierre Kaufman, I ate at the restaurant. It was great.
Yeah,
the chicken was excellent. By the way, all the food I ate there was excellent. I think one of the most surprising things that I enjoyed, I mean, everything was really good. I loved the fish. Your take on
almondine and salsa mash.
Yes, almondine and salsa mash was great. And I also really loved your tuna with the rye and the creme fraiche and
nice.
The piperade under it. It was really good.
That's a fun little dish.
Yeah, all the food was excellent. So for people that don't know, and I could talk about this too. Shit, I should have brought this up earlier. Your peach sorbet.
Yeah.
It was so good because it tasted like a peach.
Yeah,
most sorbets taste like fruit puree. Yours tasted like peach. It was great.
It's literally just, we don't even peel the peaches. It's pureed peach.
I could tell. It had the little specks in there.
Yeah, and a little bit of sugar, and we actually didn't have to acid adjust that one though. The acid, because some of them were like like very early Texas peaches, so some of them were like bursting overripe, and then some of them were like still a little tart. So they're like the tartness and the overripe ones like made this awesome, like, slightly acidulated peach sorbet where we didn't have to add any lemon juice or malic acid to it or anything.
Nice.
which is pretty cool.
We got off subject. You said Pierre Kaufman.
Yep. David Kinch.
Yep.
Sean Brock.
Mm-hmm.
And oh man, there's probably Andrew McConnell. Like that's probably 4 of those. Yeah.
Awesome, chef. Where can people find you?
Instagram, Rockwell and Sons. That's it. Anyone has any questions, feel free to DM me. I always answer them. I don't think you can, you could be too generous with your time to young chefs. So I think any questions, anything, anyone looking for a job, shoot.
Yeah, if you're in Austin, and if you're in Austin, go work at Le Calamar or go eat there.
Yeah, that'd be
Food's
great.
Music's great too.
Thank you, man. We put a lot of effort in the music. It's like, I'm glad people are like noticing in that part of it.
Yeah. It was the first thing I noticed when I was in there. It's like, it's the same music I listen to, so it's great.
Awesome.
All right, chef. Thanks for being on.
No, thanks for having me.
Yeah. Bye, everyone. Well, I hope you enjoyed the show. You know what to do. Make sure you leave 5 stars if you're listening on Spotify or anywhere, really. If you're watching on YouTube, hit the like and subscribe button. I've completely revamped
the Chef's PSA store, shop.chefspsa.com. My team added a ton of new items. I advise you to go check it out, just peruse, look around, maybe you see something nice that you like. Keep supporting the show. Go to chefspsa.com. You get books, obviously the merch, early access to episodes on Substack and Spotify for premium members. We'll see you next week. Hit the porno music.
No spawn drink in the kitchen, mixing, dropping chef knowledge, no fiction, stirring up the beats, heating up the session. Listen close, class is in session.